Hi, welcome to this channel. My name is Aparna Pednikar. I'm a journalist, gemologist and jewelry designer. I talk about jewelry and gemstone history as well as Vedic astrology, which is what this video is about. So I start this video by asking you if your gemstone is yin or yang, and I'm so glad that this Chinese concept of yin and yang exists, because the minute I say masculine, you think of a man. The minute I say feminine, you think of a woman. Now I could hang this in your bedroom and you could see it day and night, and we still think of men, masculine element for men and feminine element for women. In fact, even in this image, you see that they are distinct, as if they are joined together at the hip or at the center. But in real life, that's not how it works, right? The masculine energies and the feminine energies exist in every person, and they're not distinct. They blend together very seamlessly and flow together. Which is how it works in astrology also. For example, I'm going to take my horoscope. I have what you can call very strong masculine energy. I have a stellium in Aries, and the stellium is of all the male planets. I have the Sun, Ketu, and what's the third guy? Sun, Ketu and Jupiter in Aries, masculine planets in a masculine, very, very masculine sign. I also have Venus in Aries, but Venus is chilling out at a lower degree, and the boys have their boys club at 19 degrees. But you would call this a very masculine imprint on my horoscope, right? Which is true. But if you see, take a closer look, these planets are in the nakshatra of Bharani. And the Bharani is ruled by Venus, which is a feminine planet. So, which is why this whole unfortunately or badly named polarity of masculinity and femininity isn't really that. It just it intermingles very seamlessly, which is why I decided to make these series of 2 or 3 videos on the polarities. Again, I hate using that word, on the masculine, feminine or neutral elements of the Navaratnas specifically. There are of course other gemstones besides the Navaratna, but for this series I'm going to concentrate on the Navaratnas. And for this video, I will begin with the masculine element gemstones in the Navaratnas. There are 3 major gemstones that represent the masculine element, and it is very interesting to see. They actually represent, you can take your pick of masculine element, fire element and cardinal element, which is the leadership element, and they represent, all these 3 gemstones represent these elements. But it is really, really interesting for me to see, and I hope you will also find it interesting to see how fire, which is associated with the masculine element, evolves and changes through these 3 gemstones. So that's what we are about to see right now. Okay, so the first amongst equals is the coral. Not a very expensive gemstones, but its connotations are very interesting, because coral or Moonga is represented by Mars, which rules the sign of Aries. Partially it also rules Scorpio, but let's leave aside Scorpio for a while, because Scorpio is a mix of fire and water. Now in Mars is often criticized as being very aggressive or representing aggression, and I feel that is so unfair. Again, as somebody who has a stellium in Aries, incredibly unfair, because Mars also represents discipline. Mars is a soldier. He is nothing if not disciplined. If you see a woman who has a strong influence of Mars in her horoscope, and you have that god-awful concept of Mangal dosha amongst women, indicating that if you have a excess energy of Mars in a woman's horoscope, she's likely to be very aggressive and be a fighter cock. God-awful words, both aggression and fighter cock. In real life, you will find these women, whether they are working as business administrators or they're working as homemakers, to be excellent administrators. They run the home or the business like an army. Everything is disciplined, everything is well taken care of, and everything is very straightforward. With Aries, you have discipline plus straightforward, almost to the point of being naive, because Aries doesn't know chakke panje. It's a very straightforward sign, and again I emphasize, if you're wearing the coral or if you're associating the coral with Mars, which it is associated with, always think of discipline first and not aggression. In the coral, the fire, like I said, it evolves as a first spark, the spark of a thought, the spark of a concept, the spark of an action, because Mars initiates things. It is the energy that initiates. So it is when you light a matchstick, the fire that is represented by coral or by Mars. Now, by the time the fire reaches the second gemstone, which is the ruby, ruled by the sun, this spark of initiation turns into a cozy fire that warms your home and your workplace, because the sun is leadership, but unlike Mars, it is also a very, very strong protector. Again, if you see a woman with a strong sun in a horoscope, I do have an exalted sun, though it's not technically exalted, but I do have a lot of female friends that have a very strong sun. There is an extremely strong protective streak also in men who have a strong sun. A protective streak, excellent leaders, but also a huge ego. So they will take care of you, but if you challenge their authority, if you hurt their ego, then this cozy fire flares up and burns you. Do not ever, I mean, don't insult anybody, but don't specifically insult and go after a Leo or somebody who is ruby associated, because they don't like their authority being challenged, or if you have to do it in a diplomatic manner. So when the fire reaches the ruby, it settles into this beautiful, warm, glowing, yet capable of blazing you fire. Now, by the time the fire reaches the third gemstone, which is yellow sapphire or Pukhraj, it becomes a wildfire. Pukhraj is the most complex of these three masculine element gemstones for me, because it is governed by Jupiter, which rules two signs, Sagittarius as well as Pisces, which is water element. So we're just going to keep Pisces aside for now. And Sagittarius is where the fire becomes the most mature. And Jupiter is always about good luck. You think about the yellow sapphire, the Pukhraj, and everybody will tell you it's a good luck gemstone. It's about generosity, it's about wisdom, which is all true. But the problem with Jupiter is that it does not know when to stop. This fire is so expansive, unlike I think the problem with the yellow sapphire, the problem with Sagittarius, is it does not have the discipline of Aries and Leo. The yellow sapphire does not represent the discipline that the coral and the ruby represent. So the fire is so expansive, it just warms everybody, but it's still fiery and it does not know when to stop. I'm going to give a very, very simple example. Anybody with a prominent Jupiter, or rather Jupiter in the first house, typically has weight gain issues because they just don't know how to stop, or when they start eating. Very, very common problem you'll find in people with a prominent Jupiter or a strong Jupiter. But if you have Mars has no problem. Mars has zero problem telling people to shut the fuck up, stop putting things in my plate, I am not going to eat them. Mars knows boundaries, Leo knows boundaries, Sagittarius does not know boundaries. So this wildfire element of fire in the yellow sapphire is a little uncontrolled. It's also idealistic, incredibly generous. It has a kind of social consciousness that Aries and Leo cannot even dream of. Social consciousness is definitely a Sagittarius thing, definitely a Jupiterian trait. But the problem or the con of that pro is that this social consciousness can get out of control, and this fire can really, really get out of control in Sagittarius. So you have to be careful. All three gemstones incredibly beautiful, and I think it's wonderful to see how fire evolves through these three gemstones. If you've liked this video, do like it, do subscribe to the channel, and do share it with people who enjoy Vedic astrology as well as gemstones and jewelry. I'll see you in the next video, which will be about the feminine element gemstones.